Hello everybody, my name is Luke Mar and this is HauteLeMode, and today on HauteLeMode we are going to be talking about how you can actually look cute on a budget while not killing the earth with your wasteful consumption of clothing. Now, I know that in my fast fashion takedown video, I did a really great job of explaining to you how the fast fashion system works and also how much work goes into creating just one garment. But I'll admit the critics were right, and I didn't exactly do the greatest job of explaining how you can remedy those situations in your personal life. I probably just added another little recipe to your climate change anxiety cookbook. I have that cookbook. It's pretty filled up right now. I understand it's very stressful. So I have decided that I would do a video to remedy those issues and explain how you can actually shop, be on a budget, make it affordable, while not, just like destroying the earth. Because I feel like that's necessary, right? So we're gonna go through some tips, some tricks, and a few stores that might be able to help you out in those situations. Luckily, this video is actually sponsored by Burrow, which, if you did not know, is an amazing furniture company that actually encompasses luxury but also sustainability, all while being like really fucking cute. The thing about Burrow is they have this direct consumer model, which is something that you'll actually see is happening more in fashion. So this direct to consumer model actually takes out the middleman of a furniture store. And so that takes out the idea of shipping costs, and it also saves you the real hassle of markup prices, which is how a lot of retail stores operate, both in furniture and in fashion. So you're saving money with Burrow, don't get it twisted. They also happen to use sustainably sourced hardwood and scratch and stain resistant non-toxic fabrics. My personal favorite thing about the Burrow couches is the fact that it's so easy to move into your apartment, your home, your office, wherever you need a couch. So when I got the boxes, I just moved them up to my apartment, unboxed them. I didn't do an unboxing haul because I'm trash, but I did get to slide all of the pieces out of the boxes and then just click the couch together and latch it up real easily. And then I just screwed in my little legs on the bottom, and honestly, I feel like a new woman who's built a couch. I also was so nervous to move out of my apartment when I'm gonna be moving out in January, but now that I have this beautiful Burrow couch, I'm like, let's go, let's move it, let's take it, let's run. Also, Burrow provided me with these beautiful, beautiful pillows. They're like this thick, beautiful weave. The fabric is like non-toxic, so I'm not rubbing myself with poison. It feels like an accomplishment, honestly. And let's be real, who actually wins? We all do, because who's no longer sitting on a fugly ass couch? This chica. So thank you to Burrow. I'm so happy that we get to talk about sustainability because the sponsor loves sustainability. It's great, it feels amazing, I feel pure inside. And if you guys want to find out more about Burrow, you can actually go down in the description box. I will put the links to Burrow down there, the couch that I actually have, and to the beautiful pillows as well. So don't worry. So now getting back into how to shop sustainably and stay on a budget, we'll be getting into our first rule. And the first rule is never buy something unless you are going to wear it at least 30 times. Now I know that that sounds kind of crazy because you're like, I wear things 30 times, but I remember when I was like super into fast fashion, I was like, shirt, 7 times wearing it, bam, throw it away, don't need it anymore, oh, it doesn't fit, oh, it's not that cute, I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. So you come up with all these reasons why you don't need to wear these pieces of clothing anymore because they're old and they're ugly and they're out of style and they're falling apart. Well, no more. I genuinely now am of the school of if you love something, then you buy it. But if you just like something, you sit on it and you wait. Let me just say that I bought this sweater that I'm wearing right now, crushed velvet, beautiful. It's from And Other Stories. Yes, a subsidiary of H&M. But I bought this 3 years ago, and honestly, till the day that it falls apart, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm obsessed with this sweater. I love this sweater. I got it on sale. You have to love the pieces of clothing that you're considering buying because that's when you wear it all the time. I literally wear this sweater almost every day, and I recently bought a pair of secondhand APC jeans for like $80. I literally wear them every single day. Like, I'm obsessed with them. And this can happen obviously with anything that you're purchasing, whether it's a luxury item or a fast fashion item or an ethically made item. As long as you love the item and you're sure that you love the item, then yes, go ahead and purchase it. But make sure you're keeping that 30 times worn rule in your head when you're shopping, you know? I actually saw this tweet the other day where a girl was like, honestly, don't buy an expensive prom dress. It's bullshit. Like, you should just buy a dress from Forever 21 and throw it away the next day. Now, while I agree with the prom is trash because those dresses are awful and overpriced and made by some poor person in a different country who's not being paid a living wage, I don't agree with the sentiment that you should go to Forever 21 and buy a dress and throw it away the next day. We have to understand that clothing actually costs something, and there's a lot of time and effort put into making a piece of clothing, just one piece of clothing. A lot of work. But I understand that you don't want to overpay for something. So I think that it's very important that we as a society come to the idea that re-wearing things is not a bad concept. And I'm doing that myself. Like, I'm re-wearing pieces that I've worn in previous videos because it's like, I don't need to buy something else to show everybody like, oh, I have a different wardrobe and I have a different piece of clothing every week. Like, no, that's not necessary. But I digress. Buying something to wear it only a few times, a handful of times, is wasteful. But if you're keeping the mindset of, I need to wear this at least 30 times for me to feel like I've really gotten a good use out of it, it makes you really think and consider what you're actually buying. Tip number 2, an easy one, shop vintage. Now, I know that people are gonna be like, well, vintage is taking things away from people who can't really afford them, and like all these white girls and boys and gays are going to Goodwill and purchasing all the clothes that now I can't afford. I understand that. But there is a multitude of ways to shop vintage clothing that honestly I'm still even discovering that I didn't even know existed. Now obviously you have your vintage stores like Goodwill here in the US, Salvation Army, Savers, all of these different stores. So you can go in person, and across the UK I know they have charity shops, which are again just different names for your local secondhand goods store. They also sometimes have upscale consignment designer luxury stores. We have a lot of them here in New York. And I'm sure, and I know that they have them in places like California and Texas, and anywhere there's like a big city, there's probably a designer consignment store. So if you're looking to shop consignment in your local area and you live in a city, that's always a good place to go. Now, a lot of people have also told me, oh, well, I don't have any vintage stores that are close to me. I don't have any vintage stores in my country. Well, the internet is a vast, wonderful place. You have all found me here. There are so many amazing websites to shop vintage from. I mean, just recently I bought from eBay this amazing belt. I'm obsessed with it. But there are also other really, really amazing stores. There's Beyond Retro, there's ThredUp, there's ASOS's Vintage Market, just to name a few. And if you guys are looking for designer consignment online as well, there's TheRealReal, Etsy, Vestiaire Collective, Housing Works, which is a yeah, might I add. I saw there was like an Alexander McQueen jacket for like $55 and I was like, oh, okay. So there is a multitude of online, on-website stores. And like Goodwill has its own website. There's Beacon's Closet as well. Like there are so many stores for, at least from what I know, Americans to be shopping vintage online. And I'm pretty positive that the luxury consignment stores also have multiple global networks that you can shop online from. Now, there also are a few really good apps that I personally am constantly looking on. Depop is an extremely popular one that a lot of people love. I don't purchase a lot on Depop, but that's just a personal thing. I am obsessed with Grailed. I feel like I'm at an AA meeting. I'm like, hi, my name is Luke Mar, and I'm obsessed with Grailed. I bought APC jeans for like $80, and it was amazing, and I love them. So it's definitely possible for both men and women to shop online vintage. There's also Poshmark, Tradesy, and Mercari if you want to look around, check it out. Something else that people I don't think know a lot about is that Instagram actually has its own range of vintage stores that sell exclusively on Instagram. A lot of these stores are a little bit more upscale, but if you're looking for an amazing pair of pants or a 50s dress, like these stores always have really great quality stuff. There's Shop the Break, which does an amazing job of putting all of their newest pieces on their Instagram stories that you can shop directly from the Instagram stories. There's Awoke Vintage, Alabama Collect, Olaroche, Mirth Vintage, The Zoo, Nin Vintage, and Iamthatshop. Some of them are a little bit more pricey, others are a little bit, affordable. But remember, clothing is not something that we can just, pick out of the ground and sell. Like, clothing takes time to advertise it. It takes so much time to source the materials, to, sew it. There is so much time that goes into actual garment creation that, yes, clothing does cost money because you have to source the material, whatever. You've watched that other video. But definitely check out these vintage online stores and your local vintage store or secondhand store as well, because there definitely are amazing finds. If you don't like vintage or you feel like it's gross, buy something and then throw it in the goddamn washing machine. Or dry clean it. Like, they burn that stuff and then send it back to you. It's fine. Tip number 3 is to shop from sustainable brands or independent brands. Now, as I said, there is a certain type of person that does not like vintage. They think it's gross, and I don't understand that because I am also gross. So maybe you're looking to spend a little bit more money and actually purchase from a store or a small independent brand. Personally, I'm kind of obsessed with Everlane, which is extremely sustainable and also is very transparent about where their pieces come from, how it's made, and they do their best to actually make sure that they're being as sustainable as possible. Recently, they launched a Renew collection, which essentially uses plastic bottles in their outerwear, which I'm obsessed with. I also had a really cute little Twitter conversation with Everlane where I was like, y'all gotta get into that fashion collaboration game, because honestly, a sustainable Kim Shui or Matthew Adams Dolan collab would be fire. But there also are a bunch of other stores like Says Gah, Reformation, American Apparel, Patagonia, Kuyana, and a bunch of other independent brands all over Instagram that you can check out and look for. Again, everything's going to be in the description box. It's going to be a long one. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to wear the same old sustainable pieces. And I get that, because let's be real. But I think we should also be supporting independent and young brands, because let's be real, as long as the money's not going to an awful conglomerate or gigantic company, I feel a little bit better. Some brands that I'm currently loving are Slash by Tia, Patrick Church, Kim Shui, who just did a fire Jeffrey Campbell collab, if you didn't know. Pure Moss has just done a collaboration with Reebok, which is very affordable. Namilia, TLZ La Femme, just to name a few. I think that if we can't buy big luxury brands and we want to support younger brands, I think it's important, because the more young independent brands there are, the less that these big companies have a monopoly on manufacturers and factories, and we change the way that the industry actually works from the inside, and that's kind of important. Also, this is a tip number 3.5. If you guys have any YouTubers that you love that make merchandise, tweet at them and be like, hi y'all, can you guys make your merch in sustainable or more sustainable material? And can you also make sure that you're paying your employees and the people making the clothes a livable wage? I just recently learned about hemp, which actually is made out of the same stuff as cannabis. You can't get high off the clothes, unfortunately, but it is sustainable. It's not cutting down trees. It's not anything like that. And hemp grows crazy fast and all over the place. It's like bamboo. So hemp is a much better material that is actually being used and harnessed to make textiles. So asking your local YouTuber to just be like, hey, can you just not kill the earth a little bit to sell your product? I think that they'd actually be kind of happy that they're getting responses from their subscribers and fans. Tip number 4 is upcycling. Honestly, I've gotten into it recently. It's kind of cute. Maybe one of you guys has recently found some oversized clothes or undersized clothes at your local vintage store, or your mom gave you this awful, ugly coat. It's a hand-me-down. And you're like, well, what do I do with this? Well, it's actually not that hard to change how clothes look. Personally, I'm currently trying to learn how to sew because not only is it an amazing, interesting talent to have, but it also allows me to alter my own clothes. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I've lost some weight. But I do have a lot of clothes that actually don't fit me as well as they used to. A lot of my clothes are really baggy. So I've been actually learning how to hem and put darts in clothes. If you guys don't know, hemming is essentially when you shorten the length of a skirt or a dress or a pair of pants. It's really actually interesting and amazing. Also, darts, if you didn't know, is essentially sewing so that you can cut away a different piece of fabric. And so like your jeans might be a little bit big, but if you put darts in them, they'll actually be tighter and fit better. Now, if you don't have years to learn how to sew and you're like, you know what, Luke, I can barely color in the lines, you can actually go to your local tailor. Like, I'm sure you all have a local tailor. And your local tailor can actually like walk you through how and what you need to do to make the clothes that you want. Over the summer, I found this amazing Prada suit. It was beautiful. It was $100 at Beacon's Closet. And I was like, well, it's too big. Like, what am I gonna do? So I brought it to my local tailor and she was like, that's so big. And I was like, I know, but I don't know how to like make it small. So can you like walk me through what you need to do to make it small so I can understand? And she was like, yeah. So she pinned it on me. She was like, how tight do you want the pants? Like, how fitted do you want the blazer? You know, all of these questions. And she gave me back my suit weeks later and it fit beautifully. I looked amazing at this wedding. It was iconic. And I think that tailors actually be very interested in teaching you how and what goes on in the altering of your clothing. Be like, I'm really interested in fashion. I just don't know anything about tailoring. Could you just like maybe explain to me what you do or like how it works or what I need to know? Because honestly, tailoring and clothing is like a language. If somebody's saying I'm raising the hem 3 inches, if somebody doesn't know about fashion, they're gonna be like, what's that? Or they're putting 3 darts in at 3 inches. Like, you're like, you're shooting me with a blow dart? Like, what? So learning about tailoring and all these things is really important to making clothes that you actually want and that actually look really cute. So number 5, the final tip, is actually just to do what you can. In my last video, I really don't think I did a great job of explaining and making people feel good about wearing clothes, and so I really do apologize about that. And a lot of people actually commented on my video and were pointing out other factors that I hadn't even really thought about. Some people pointed out that luxury brands that I talk about all the time, like for example Chanel or Gucci, might be using unsustainable materials to make their pieces or using unethical labor that is bad. And I hadn't really thought about that. When I think about it now, I think about it in terms of myself. I'm not going into LV or Gucci or Balenciaga every day being like, hi, like what's up, like what's new, what haven't I seen since yesterday? If you're a normal luxury customer, you're buying into the luxury experience. Somebody really spent time designing this piece, somebody spent time sourcing the fabrics and materials, somebody spent time actually putting this piece together. And that's true, so don't be afraid of those things. But if you're somebody that's like, you know, crazy rich Asians, rich, and buying Valentino 17 times a day, maybe you should be like, hi, Pure Paolo, what's up? Like, is everything being made beautifully? But I don't want people to feel bad about luxury shopping because I don't think that the everyday person purchases luxury at an alarming rate. I feel like people do save up and people really cherish and keep those items. They pass them down from, you know, parent to child, child to parent, like all of these different things. It happens, I know. Another point that was made was that certain people can only afford fast fashion. And since watching a lot more documentaries, I've also learned that Adidas to certain people is a luxury purchase. And so I have to take that into account and not be like, oh my god, like you're wearing Forever 21, that's trash, like blah. But I understand that people can only afford what they can afford and they can't change their circumstances, and clothing is not the first thing that they think about when, you know, living. So I think something that we all should be doing is not like judging somebody that is doing what they can. And I'm sure that if somebody is actually purchasing from a fast fashion company and that's all they can afford, they're not, you know, throwing those clothes away in 6 days. Like, they're cherishing that piece because that's what they can afford. So if that's you, you're doing fine, you're doing amazing, like turnout looks. I expect you to style things well. But you know what, if you're out and about and your friend Debbie's like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy this like Forever 21 shirt and like whatever, I'll throw it away tomorrow. Be like, Debbie, sit down, please. Let me explain to you why you in the head. Do what you can, and maybe you can't afford ethical brands because they're fucking expensive. and all of these other things, but be educated. Educate others, teach others, and when you get to a place where you can afford these things, then yeah, then go for it. Live your best life. But I don't want anybody to feel ashamed of what they can afford. So if I have done any of that and made any of you feel bad about your purchases, I'm sorry. I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to like live your best fashionable fucking life. So please do that. In conclusion, fashion is the second most wasteful industry in the world. And honestly, we can't just say, oh, you know, we're all gonna be nudists tomorrow because guess what? It was snowing on Thursday in New York, so mom's not gonna be out there in the cold, freezing her actual dick off. But there is a way that we can change how society views clothing and the way that we talk about clothing. I feel gross when I say I work in fashion and then you have the founder of Fashion Nova saying that they're putting out thousands of styles of clothing a week. Thousands of styles is not something that should be done a week. Thousands of styles is not something that should be done a season, let alone a year. It's so wasteful, it's so not necessary, it's just not what needs to be happening. And I want us, you know, grassroots movement, to change the way that we talk about clothing. And it's the way that we talk about all types of clothing. Clothing is not something that is made like that. It's not something that grows on trees. It's something that takes time to produce. It's something that is artistry. It's something that takes technical skill, even at the lowest level when it comes to fast fashion. Do you think the people in Bangladesh and China and Turkey and Morocco don't know how to sew? Technically, because let me just say, they do. So if you really want to be a sustainable, affordable, fashionable bad bitch, change the way that you talk about clothing first, because that's the first step. And then purchase your purchases and live your best fucking life. You know? So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I had a great time making this, and I hope that we've, you know, had a good little conversation and we've remedied some of our past issues. Again, thank you to Burrow. She's feeling sexy and free. And with that, I bid you guys adieu to the next time. So, TTYL.